Iranian missile hits U.S. carrier, triggering immediate and overwhelming American military response.
Officials confirmed the carrier remains operational after impact, while a rapid U.S. response targeted multiple Iranian military facilities across the region.
We urge the public to remain calm, follow official updates, and avoid spreading unverified information during this situation.
Stating that a U.S. fighter jet shoots down an unmanned Iranian drone that was heading toward the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea. I'm in Erbil, Iraq, as this conflict with Iran spreads across this region. We are now on the 5th day of this war. 2 days ago, under the direction and direct orders of President Donald J. Trump, the Department of War launched Operation Epic Fury, March 10, 2026. 3:12 a.m. The Strait of Hormuz is black water and no mercy. Iranian forces have just launched an Al-Qadr ballistic missile at a United States Navy aircraft carrier. Pentagon sources confirmed a direct hit, casualties are rising, and before Iranian commanders could finish celebrating, the American response was already in the air. Defense officials are describing the aftermath as the single most decisive 90 seconds of naval warfare since World War II. Strait of Hormuz, the throat of the world's oil supply. 21 nautical miles at its narrowest. In the pre-dawn darkness, the water moves slow and heavy, like something that knows what's about to happen. Through that darkness, the USS Abraham Lincoln, a Nimitz-class nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, holds her position at the center of Carrier Strike Group 9. 97,000 tons of American naval power, 1,100 feet of flight deck. She carries 85 aircraft, a crew of 5,000 sailors and airmen, and enough firepower to end the conventional military ability of a mid-sized nation. If you want the full truth about what happens when Iran launches a ballistic missile at an American carrier, hit like so this video reaches the people who need to understand what's really at stake tonight. The Lincoln has operated in these waters before. Her crew knows the strait the way surgeons know a patient's vital signs. The Shipson/Spy-6 radar, the most advanced air defense sensor ever deployed at sea, watches everything, every aircraft, every vessel, every missile launch signature within a 1,000 km radius. The carrier strike group around her includes 2 Arleigh-Burke destroyers on the flanks, a Ticonderoga-class cruiser positioned forward, and 2 attack submarines running silent beneath the surface. Combined defensive magazine, over 400 interceptor missiles ready to fire. But Iran's Revolutionary Guard Aerospace Command had spent 3 years preparing for this exact situation. Not a harassment operation, not a close pass. A coordinated Al-Qaeda medium-range ballistic missile strike timed for the window when American Aegis coverage has the narrowest overlap. A window of 47 seconds. They found it. They used it. In 11 minutes, the Al-Qaeda warhead is going to hit the Lincoln's forward flight deck. And 9 minutes after that, every Iranian ballistic missile launch site, every Revolutionary Guard Aerospace Command facility, and every radar installation that made this strike possible is going to be rubble. This is not the story of a surprise attack that caught America sleeping. This is the story of what happens when you strike an American carrier and discover that the retaliation package wasn't being written. It was already armed, already targeted, already waiting for someone to be reckless enough to give it a reason to fly. Let's establish the Iranian weapon. The Al-Qadr, a medium-range ballistic missile developed from the Shahab program, improved through years of North Korean technical exchange and domestic engineering. 800 kilograms conventional warhead, range of 2,000 kilometers, circular error probable of roughly 150 m in standard configuration. But in the variant Iran used tonight, a maneuvering re-entry vehicle, a warhead that makes last-second corrections in the final moments of descent to beat point defenses. Not a new technology, but new in Iranian hands. And the intelligence community had been tracking its development for 14 months without concluding Iran would use it this soon. Comment Al-Qadr. If you think Iran just crossed a line they can never walk back from, the launch sequence begins 60 kilometers inland from the coast. A TEL unit, a transporter erector launcher, had moved to its firing position 3 hours earlier, blending with commercial vehicle traffic across Iranian highway infrastructure. The kind of movement that's hard to spot as abnormal until the moment the launcher rises and the missile goes vertical. The Lincoln's radar detects the launch signature immediately, for seconds after ignition. The tactical action officer calls it. Aegis calculates intercept solutions. The SM-3 interceptor is in the air in 11 seconds. The best point defense system ever built, doing exactly what it was built to do. The SM-3 closes on the Al-Qadr at 3 kilometers per second. Intercept geometry looks good. Then the maneuvering re-entry vehicle activates. A 6G sideways correction in the terminal phase. The SM-3 clips the warhead body, breaks it into fragments, but doesn't achieve a kill. The warhead keeps falling, damaged but intact. The secondary CIWS engagement catches fragments. Most burn up or deflect. But the main warhead casing, carrying roughly 400 kilograms of energetic material, hits the Lincoln's forward flight deck at 0313 hours 14 seconds. The blast tears a 40-foot hole through the flight deck. Fires ignite in the hangar bay below. 3 F/A Super Hornets that were staged for the morning's patrol are destroyed instantly. 7 sailors and the forward deck crew die in the first 8 seconds. 23 more are wounded. The fires spread. Damage control teams move before the ship stops shaking. That's what 5,000 hours of battle damage control training produces, movement before the smoke clears. You're standing on that flight deck right now. You're a 22-year-old aviation bosun's mate from Georgia. 18 months ago, you were working at a tire shop, wondering what came next. This morning you were pre-flighting an F/A-18, thinking about the sunrise coming up over the Gulf, about the cold coffee you left in the ready room, about normal things that normal people think about before the world changes without asking permission. And then the deck tilts. The sound isn't like anything a human brain is made to process. Your training moves your legs before your mind decides to. You grab the nearest fire hose. You fight because that's all there is now. The Lincoln's commanding officer transmits the strike report at 0313 hours 21 seconds. Direct hit by ballistic missile. Flight deck compromised. Fires in hangar. Casualties confirmed. Al-Qaeda class weapon identified by radar track. Ship maintaining operational status. Strike group defensive posture upgraded to wartime. The transmission reaches 5th Fleet. CENTCOM, the National Military Command Center. Timestamp logged at 0313:24 seconds, and the pre-delegated authorization activates. Share this video right now because what happens in the next 9 minutes rewrites every Iranian military calculation made in the last decade. 9 minutes. That's what Iran gets. Not 9 minutes of American debating. 9 minutes of American execution. Because the president signed the retaliation authorization 16 months ago. The target package was built and verified 11 months ago. The strike platforms were repositioned 3 weeks ago. The fire control solutions were updated 12 hours ago when satellite confirmation of the TEL movement was received. Everything was in place. Everything was loaded. Everything was waiting. Iran just answered the one question that remained. Were they actually going to do it? They were. The response platforms are already in position. USS Georgia, an Ohio-class guided missile submarine operating submerged in the Gulf of Oman, carries 154 Tomahawk cruise missiles. USS Ohio, running a parallel track 40 nautical miles north, carries the same magazine. 2 Arleigh Burke destroyers in the strike group's outer ring. IB-2 Spirit stealth bomber that had been loitering at altitude over the northern Arabian Sea for 6 hours, carrying 16 2,000-pound bunker-penetrating GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, and 4 F-15E Strike Eagles already airborne on what had been a routine combat air patrol, now receiving new targeting data. The strike authorization reaches all platforms at the same time at 0313 hours 31 seconds. The submarines receive first. USS Georgia, target list preloaded, GPS solutions verified, weather current. The weapons officer doesn't debate. The order is the order. First Tomahawk out at 0313:44 seconds. Then they come fast. 40 Tomahawks from the Georgia in 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Ripple fire. The Gulf of Oman surface turns white as missiles punch upward and turn toward the Iranian coast. USS Ohio. Another 40 Tomahawks. Same timeline, same precision. The destroyers add 16 more. The B-2 releases its GBU-57s from altitude. Weapons falling toward hardened underground facilities that conventional munitions cannot reach. The F-15ES come in low and fast with JDMR glide bombs, hunting the mobile radar infrastructure the Al-Qadr launch depended on. Total, 96 Tomahawks, 8 bunker-penetrating GBU-57s, and 24 JDMR glide bombs. 128 precision weapons, all airborne at once, hunting. Comment unstoppable if you understand why Iran cannot rebuild from this in less than 2 years. Let's talk targets. Because this isn't retaliation just to retaliate. Every weapon has an address, chosen for one reason: remove the exact capability that enabled the Al-Qaeda strike on the Lincoln and stop it from ever happening again. Trees Missile Production Facility, the main manufacturing site for Al-Qaeda components in northwestern Iran. 16 Tomahawks, the precision machining buildings, the solid fuel processing facility, the warhead assembly hall, the quality control structures, all targeted separately, all hit within a 40-second window. The facility that took 9 years to build received 16 cruise missiles in 40 seconds. Shahid Hamid Industrial Group Complex near Iran. The engineering brain behind the Al-Qadr maneuvering re-entry vehicle. 8 Tomahawks. The design and testing buildings. The composite materials lab. The technical staff who built the terminal maneuvering ability that defeated the SM-3 intercept tonight. Targeted directly. The technical knowledge that makes Al-Qadr dangerous lives in those buildings and in those people. Both receive a proportional share of the strike package. Karamabad Missile Base. Primary operational storage and launch preparation facility for Al-Qadr TL units. 12 Tomahawks, the hardened equipment shelters, the propellant storage, the maintenance facilities, the command and coordination center. Every structure on the satellite imagery has a weapon assigned to it. Imam Ali Missile Garrison, forward deployment base for mobile launcher units operating toward the Strait. 8 GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators from the B-2. The underground storage tunnels that were designed specifically to survive conventional air attack. The tunnels are 40 m deep. The GBU-57 is built for exactly this. Bunker-penetrating kinetic energy followed by delayed detonation deep underground. The tunnels are destroyed from the inside. Radar and tracking network. 14 mobile and fixed radar sites that provided the targeting data for tonight's strike. The F-15ES hunting with JDME, methodical, one by one. The radar that watched the Lincoln. The radars that tracked the SM-3 intercept and fed correction data to the maneuvering warhead. All of them received weapons within a 6-minute window. And the TEL unit that fired tonight. It tried to move the moment the launch was complete. Standard Iranian doctrine, shoot and relocate. But the Lincoln's radar tracked the launch to source coordinates. A Predator had been orbiting the area for 4 hours. The TL was targeted by an air-launched Hellfire at 0315 hours 11 seconds. The crew of 6 died with their launcher. Comment 9 if you understand what 9 minutes of American precision actually means. From the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Aerospace Force perspective, the sequence went like this. At 0313 hours, they achieved something no Iranian military force had ever achieved, a confirmed hit on an American aircraft carrier. The commanders in the Launch Coordination Center are watching confirmation come through satellite imagery when the first explosions reach trees. Then Karamabad. Then the Imam Ali Garrison. The radar network goes dark in pieces. The TEL unit at the launch site stops transmitting. The full size of what's happening takes about 4 minutes to truly sink in. By the time Iranian command fully understands what is being done to them, 80% of the strike package has already finished its job. First light over the Strait reveals a different strategic reality than Iranian commanders expected when they approved this operation. The USS Abraham Lincoln is damaged but operational. Her fires are controlled. She is launching aircraft by 0500 hours. The hole in her flight deck is being assessed for temporary repair. She is still the center of Carrier Strike Group 9. Still operational, still present in international waters. What is no longer present? Iran's Al-Qaeda production infrastructure. Iran's primary missile garrison facilities. Iran's radar network for Strait targeting operations. Iran's technical specialists in maneuvering re-entry vehicle development. The TEL crew that fired the shot. All of it gone. Not degraded, gone. Now, let's calculate the trade Iran actually bought. $2 billion invested over 9 years in Al-Qaeda development. 1 missile fired, 1 hit scored against a carrier with 5,000 crew who mostly survived. 7 American sailors killed, 23 wounded. The Lincoln damaged but operational. Against that, 3 missile production facilities destroyed, 2 launch garrisons eliminated, 14 radar sites dark. The entire technical team behind the maneuvering warhead development killed in their laboratory. 18 months minimum before Iran can rebuild meaningful ballistic missile strike capability against American carrier groups. $2 billion of infrastructure destroyed in 9 minutes by a response package that cost, by comparison, about $300 million to execute. The math is brutal. It's supposed to be. The diplomatic aftermath moves fast. Iran's government issues a statement claiming the Lincoln violated Iranian sovereign airspace. The statement is released while satellite imagery of burning Iranian facilities is already moving through Allied intelligence networks. The Lincoln's radar data showing the missile launch from 60 kilometers inland. The full track, the maneuvering re-entry vehicle activation, the impact coordinates, transmitted to the UN Security Council within 4 hours. The evidence is complete and unmistakable. The missile came from inside Iran. The Lincoln was in international waters. The response was proportional to the threat removed. 14 nations quietly communicate support to Washington within 24 hours. Gulf states that have watched Iranian ballistic missile development with growing alarm for years understand exactly what tonight means. The regional response tells you what Iran's neighbors actually think about Revolutionary Guard aerospace programs. They wanted those programs stopped. America just stopped them. Here's the strategic consequence that makes this permanent. Every Iranian aerospace commander now has to plan every ballistic missile operation knowing one specific truth. A successful hit on an American carrier does not buy time for diplomatic maneuvering. It does not produce a proportional, symbolic response. It activates a pre-built, pre-authorized, pre-positioned strike package against every facility that made the attack possible, and it arrives before the launch crew can reach their next position. The choice to pre-delegate this authority, to preload these target packages, to pre-position these strike platforms, was the real deterrent, not the weapons. The architecture, the willingness to make the decision before the provocation, and remove all human delay from the execution chain. Iran's entire strategic calculation assumed American political debate would create a window, a few days of argument, international pressure, diplomatic options, a window to maneuver, to negotiate, to sell the attack as self-defense to international audiences. They got 9 minutes. Not 9 minutes because American forces reacted quickly. 9 minutes because the president had already reacted. The authorization was already signed. The targets were already assigned. The missiles were already loaded. All that was needed was confirmation that Iran had done what planners knew they would eventually try. They tried it. The response didn't begin when the Lincoln was hit. The response began 16 months ago in a secure conference room where someone asked, "What do we do if Iran actually does this?" And the answer was, "We already did it. We just haven't told them yet." The USS Abraham Lincoln is repaired and returned to full operational status. The 7 killed sailors receive full military honors. Their names are cut into stone. Their families receive benefits, gratitude, and the knowledge that their loss was not meaningless. The 23 wounded recover. Most return to duty. All of them carry the exact memory of the morning the flight deck became a place where the world changed. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Aerospace Force spends the next 22 months rebuilding. New facilities in hardened locations, new tel procurement, new personnel trained to replace the specialists killed at the Hemate complex. But the operational posture changes permanently. No Al-Qaeda launches. No ballistic missile targeting of American carrier groups. Not because the capability doesn't eventually return. Because every Iranian commander who plans an operation now has to include the question they cannot answer comfortably: how long before the Americans respond? And the answer they received was 9 minutes. 9 minutes isn't a reaction time. It's a death sentence for the mission before it's approved. That's what 9 minutes means. Not speed. Not technology. A decision made in advance. A response built before the provocation. And an adversary who made the mistake of thinking American restraint was American inability. Would you have authorized that Al-Qaeda launch against the Lincoln knowing what you know now? Knowing the response wasn't going to be debated, knowing every facility connected to the program was already targeted, already locked, already waiting for you to make exactly this calculation and get it exactly this wrong. Drop a comment below. Was America's 9-minute response justified? Or did they go too far? And if you want to see more scenarios where military miscalculations crash into a reality that was already prepared and waiting, subscribe right now because I break down the strategies, the weapons, and the decisions that define modern warfare before the mainstream media gets the story straight. Hit subscribe. Every video here gives you the full picture the briefing rooms don't want simplified.